reliability is, where that's moving up in the 90s for years. And such a huge part of that is to the amazing work that Petronas has put in, and to the expertise that you brought to the table. So I remember we used to get to the end of the pit lane, we used to be able to sit there and wait for ages when none of the other teams could do that. The power delivery, and the consistent power delivery through race upon race upon race, when you have big deck on these engines. That's something that I've always experienced with Petronas. So yeah, I'm excited and just so focused on getting us back to where we belong. And I truly believe we can do that next year. But it's not an easy. It's not like it's just going to happen overnight. That's going to take a lot of dedication, a lot of work, really digging deep, every single one of us. But I think everyone's up for the challenge.
I may stay with you, Lewis, just for one more question. Long-term projects, there's also a journey that you are on to try and change our sport in terms of diversity and representation, a journey you're on together with our team as well. And I think over the 10 years you've worked with Petronas, Petronas has always given a fantastic example, for example, of senior female leadership across the partnership and across the company as well. Tell us a little bit about how that work is progressing and how much it means to you and to the team as well.
Yeah, I would say out of all the companies that I've worked with, Petronas is the leader in all the brands that I've worked with in terms of how diverse. That was when I first came here and went into the towers and saw the different levels and saw how diverse it is in terms of minority, in terms of gender specific. There's just such a wide range of people here at Petronas, which was great to see, and particularly female leadership, I think, is amazing. And it's not something that we see in our sport. It's always been a male-dominated sport, but I think the great thing is we're on a journey now, a pathway now to try and improve that, try and improve the pipeline for particularly POC, but particularly like young youth that would never normally have the opportunity in the harder communities to getting into STEM subjects. But it's not only STEM subjects. I mean, that's a really important factor in getting more engineers in, but it's covering all the bases, because there's from catering to marketing to, there's thousands of jobs within the industry. So we started Ignite with the team. That's something I'm really, really proud of. When I sat with Toto last contract negotiation, I've been with Mercedes since I was 13, and I was like, I don't want to just be a driver for you anymore. Like, what can we do? How can we have some serious impact within the industry and outside of the industry? And really, it's great winning world titles, but what does it really mean if you're not helping people, if you're not impacting and changing people's lives? So that's what we're embarking on. So Ignite is working on mostly motorsport, and I've started my own Mission 44 Foundation, which is more focused on the real kind of systemic issues within society, within education. And we have now plans ahead. Like, for example, with Ignite, we're trying to get 8,000 young girls into the sport, and that's underway. We have a lot more, some serious targets. And I would say that it feels like it's moving slow, because you just want it to happen now, but it takes time to implement these things and get people in. But there's been a great reaction so far, and lots of work up ahead, but as I said, Petronas know all about that, so I'm grateful that we're partnering with them.
Great, thank you. You mentioned great reactions. I'm going to sort of slight change of pace to you, George. The supporters here in Malaysia have always been huge supporters of the team and given us great backing from within Petronas as well. I think you're going to get your first taste of that and fan engagement over in the towers a little bit later on. How excited are you to also getting back to actually having contact with the fans and not being distanced, not being covered in masks, or just doing things through a screen?
Absolutely, I think it's something that a lot of us didn't, or we took for granted prior to the pandemic, and when we had all of these restrictions in place, that the fans are truly the people who make this sport what it was and what it is. It's always so exciting to go to these fan activations, and even when Lewis and I were last here, we had some photo shoots in one of the Petronas petrol stations, and seeing all the people there to support us for a simple photo shoot was incredible. To firstly know that we were there and spend their time watching and seeing what was going on, it really does give you a special feeling of what we do is incredible, racing these fast racing cars around the world, on the best circuits in the world, but seeing the reaction that has on all of these supporters really gives you goosebumps. So yes, actually look forward to it.
Speaking looking forward, this weekend in Singapore, other drivers are talking about it potentially being the toughest challenge of the season so far with this generation of car. What are you expecting?
I don't think it's going to be easy from a physicality perspective. I think just for us coming to KL, and when we walk outside and you feel the heat, you feel the humidity, we're certainly not used to that. So I think we're going to be sweating inside of that race car, but I think it always offers an opportunity. I feel like these difficult situations, difficult circuits, difficult climates, if you're the one putting the extra work in, working harder than your competitors, that can give you that edge. So even though I know it's going to be an incredibly difficult weekend from our perspective, sat inside of that car, sweating it out on one of the toughest circuits of the year, I feel like that gives us an opportunity to try and beat our rivals. So I'm really excited for the weekend. I think we've made a lot of progress throughout this year, and I think what's also really incredible for me with the partnership with Petronas is seeing that this is obviously one of the toughest years that the team has endured in 8 or 9 seasons, yet Petronas are still with us, and we had this agreement in place for the long term. So I think that loyalty and that partnership is excellent, and certainly looking forward to the future.
And before we open up 2 questions, I'll warn you guys, everyone was a little bit shy earlier, so we may not get many coming back, but as we look ahead to these last 6 races, Lewis, are there any that you've got sort of circled on the calendar as potential places that might be there for, a win might be there for the taking, or is it just a question of taking it each one as it comes and seeing how they unfold?
I think what we've discovered this year is you just never know that with the circumstances that we face with each weekend, you can never really pre-plan. We get on the simulator and it can feel good, or it cannot feel good, and then you get to a track and it'll be complete, for example, Zambor was completely different. Didn't feel like there was a lot of grip in the simulator, and then we got to the track and it was amazing. So really don't know what to expect. I would say that just that week on week, we're discovering and understanding more about the car, we're understanding more about the operating window, where the car works and where it doesn't, in terms of ride height, in terms of downforce and efficiency. I would say Singapore it should be a good track for us because it's a high downforce circuit. However, it is bumpy, and we won't know until we get there how good a job the company's done that they've hired to resurface the track. We go back to somewhere like the British Grand Prix back a year or so ago when they resurfaced it. It was the bumpiest thing ever. So you just never know with these companies nowadays. But I think Singapore will be great. Hopefully, I really hope we can compete strong there. And then Brazil, I think, would be a good one as well, and maybe Mexico. Abu Dhabi might be the harder one for us because it's very, very long straights. It's about less drag, but also carrying the downforce. So yeah, we're just going to be pushing as hard as we can. And as I said, each weekend we're getting more comfortable in the car as well, and not having so much of the bouncing issue. But I'm still like going on. The other day I went on an event with the team, and I was driving one of those an off-road car. I was going proper off-road, all over bumps, and I was like, okay, I'm used to this because I've experienced it earlier in the year.
We have as an outtake where you may have suggested it felt better than the F1 car does on track.
Yeah, well, we don't have any suspension on the car this year, so it definitely was feeling smoother. But that's the kind of ride we need quality-wise for next year.
Great. So again, I'll open the floor to questions if there are any from the legal representatives. Yes, you have a raised hand in the front row.
Hi, this is Adam Ham. I think you remember me asking you a question last season. This time you actually have George next to you. What sort of chemistry and positive end that you have as compared to Bottas? And do you have high confidence that you will end up at least on second place for the team?
firstly, just in terms of chemistry, I'd like to think it's worked really well between us this year. George has actually been with the team for longer than this year. He's obviously been didn't want to be, Formula 2, for example, coming up. He was always a part of the teams for a while, so we've travelled together before. He's been in the engineering room on race weekends with us, so it was a very, very easy transition for George coming in this year, and I think we worked really well towards both trying to understand the car, and he's done a fantastic job in scoring an amazing point for the team. Our goal is to try and get second for the team, because that does make a huge impact for everyone back at the factory. And so these next 6 races are just about maximum attack, nothing to lose, and we're just going to just give it out.
It's certainly, I think, as Lewis said, fighting for the second Constructors' Championship is not what we set out for at the start of the year, because we set out to win. But given the circumstances, I think if we can achieve that second place in the Constructors' Championship, it will be a huge boost for all of us back at the factory, and also probably quite a huge blow to our rivals in Ferrari, who started the season with the fastest car and looked like the team going on to win the championship. So, psychologically it could be quite important, but nevertheless, to see that improvement we've made through the season, even if we don't quite manage to achieve second in the team's championship, I think it's looking really good going into next season with that progress and how we've managed to close that gap substantially to Ferrari, to Red Bull. So that in itself is really exciting.
Do we have any further questions on the floor?
Hi, I'm Nazrin from Bernama. First of all, welcome back, Miss. And, my question is, that's why you said you went to the old circuit this morning.
Oh no, we just drove past it. We were just on the road from the airport, so we knew it was just over there in the bushes in the field somewhere. It's just.
That's it. But then the question is related to the old circuit. What's on your mind when you return back to Kuala? And the circuit is there.
That track was amazing to drive. It would be epic to drive it in this type of car, particularly in last year's car, would have been amazing. But it was always the toughest race, I would say, for me, physically. It was midday, roasting. I mean, it's so hot here. And I remember I remember my first race here in 2007. I think I finished second, and that was my second podium of my career in my second race. And I lost just over 4 kilos in that race. And I just remember how hard it was, even to this day, just getting out of the car. And the emotions I went through that race, just because I being into my second Grand Prix, not making a mistake, bringing points for the team, and really trying to deliver. It was pretty epic. And then just over the following years, we've had so many different experiences with it, just being so hot, but then also the rain we have here. Sometimes when it rains, it really rains. And I am sad that we don't get to use that track anymore. But I heard it's still used, at least with MotoGP, so I didn't get to watch the race on TV, but maybe one day we can do an event, and maybe, and come back and do some type of event.
Luis, I have a question for you. Luis, you only have 6 races left to end your tri-star and maintain your record for the most consecutive seasons in F1 with at least 1 GP victory. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate to have worked with so many great people throughout my career, and the one thing for sure, we've eventually got a win in every season since 2007. And it's something I'm really proud of, but I'm not really passionate about records. For me, it's more about the journey together with the team this year. It's all about the hard work. It's something these guys are men and women that come into the racetrack each weekend, but also going back to the factory. They're right near to their seats throughout the weekend. Everyone's working so hard. They get back Monday morning and they're back in it. There's just not a day of rest for anybody. And so I'm very, very proud of everyone for how they've handled this difficult year that we've had, the difficult challenges we've had through the season. The ability to stay focused, to keep staying positive through the year, and no one really dropping their heads. Everyone's just been super diligent and trying to. That's been motivating for me to see, and that's encouraged me to do the same. We've got six races, so there's 6 opportunities to try and get that win. And I'd love to be able to deliver that for the team. But if we don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. We will get back to the top. It's just, as I said, back in the background, there's a huge amount of work to go on. It's so complex, the car that we have this year, and even going into next year with the budget, with the cost of capital, etc. So it's pretty phenomenal what the team have done anyways, even this year. Yeah, we just need to keep, I need everyone to keep their fingers crossed. We need all the positive energy we can, and hopefully we have a positive weekend this weekend.
So one final hand there for a closing question. Ooh. Yes. If you could just bring the mic a little closer. Thank you.
For the first time in your F1 career, there's a real danger that you go on entire season without a race. Can you share?
I mean, that's what I was just talking about, honestly. But I don't see it as a danger. I think about the accomplishment that we've had this year. We've had a car that has been so difficult to do. Such a tiny long racing window. And we started out the season, we were fortunate because we capitalized on, we had done a great job with reliability, for example. So we capitalized on where some of the other teams who perhaps had better base performance but didn't finish the races. And then we went through a really, really difficult phase of time as we're trying to develop the car, and then we've come back and we've given the leaders trouble in mid part of the season towards the end. So I don't look at it as a dry spell. I look at it as a bit of adversity, and I think that's where you really gain strength. I think we've gained a lot of strength and depth. When you're winning all the time, it's a wonderful thing, but you don't lose it, you don't gain a lot when you win constantly. Of course, that's where we want to be. But when we have difficult races and tough races, and we do our debriefs, that's where we learn the most about the car. So that's where we have to dig the deepest, and that's when we learn more about every single individual in the team has to dig deep, and that's where you learn the most about yourself. That's where you progress the most. So I feel like this has been a year of growth, and I think it's been empowering to have an experience like this. There's people on our team that have not been that have joined, for example, in the 7 years or 8 years of dominance that we had, and have only known winning. And so this has been a good experience for all of us, whether you've had success or not. Puts us in a good position, I think, for the future.
Great. We'll go now. We'll squeeze in one final one for you.
Hi, thank you. I'm communist from Australia, Malaysia. Thank you, everyone. My question to you is, since we want to be the sport itself, like how do you see the development of the regulations and whatnot, and the rivalry between the other teams? So is this one of the best ever seasons moving forward for 2023-24? Is this the best?
Honestly, I feel it's been amazing to drive. I drove the car in 2005 car, I think. In 2006 was the first time I drove a Formula car. So I went from a V10 to 21,000 RPM to a V8 with 18,000 RPM. Much shorter, more nimble cars. I've driven tires that have grooves in them, slick tires. We've gone to a car with huge front wing and small rear wing, and now into this where we've got this huge ground effect. And then also, I've been a part of the hybrid era since 2009, so we've been part of that development with Mercedes back in 2009, and the development we now have also. So it's been interesting, and I would say, I don't know if the racing's better this year. You still have top teams that are just able to squeeze that little bit more out that we've seen every single year. I do think we're moving towards a time, hopefully, that to particularly with the cost cap, that hopefully the teams all slowly progress closer to each other and we have better racing moving forward. There have been some races this year where we can follow better than we have in the past, not everywhere, but I'm hoping that improves in the next years.
Great. Well, with that, I'm afraid we'll have to bring the press conference to a close. I know George, Lewis, you both have busy commitments, so we'll let you head on to those as well. Thank you very much for your time.